All right, on today's Rainmaker success story, we're going to learn about Gunnar Morgan. He's a young cat, just turned 23. He's already been wholesaling several years. Okay, he got into business when COVID hit. His hopes and dreams of being a famous Hollywood actor were put on pause, and he found himself working a construction job, right? Then he learned about wholesaling on TikTok, of all places. Tried doing it on his own for a little bit, cold calling, pulling his own list. That didn't work out. Then he ended up finding someone on Instagram, bigger wholesale company in his area, ended up working for them for over a year, getting some great experience under his belt. Went out on his own, had some mixed results, some hits, some misses, almost went broke a couple times. Then he stumbled across the Rainmaker method. That's when things really took off. So stay tuned. You're not going to want to miss this. Let's go. Hey, Gunnar, man, dude, I really appreciate you getting on here with me. I know you're a young cat, right? Aren't you in like your early 20s?
Yeah, 23.
23.
Just turned 23.
23, dude. So, man, why don't you just kind of talk about how you got into real estate, maybe what you were doing before real estate, how you heard about it, and just kind of your journey leading up to this point.
Yeah, absolutely. So, getting into real estate, I knew I always wanted something better. I always told myself I was going to be a millionaire. Just didn't know how I was going to do that. And I would say, in high school, I never really paid attention. I never really wanted the corporate, like go to college, all that stuff. So out of high school, out of graduation, I thought I was going to be a huge actor. So I started doing some like background work in acting, and yeah, it was fun. I did that up until March when COVID hit in 2020. And then once that hit, everything changed. I was living with one of my friends at the time, and me and him, that was probably like the coolest time of our lives because we were on lockdown. We just hung out, watched TV all the time, and I did a little bit of work on the side with his dad, doing construction, and that's kind of where the journey led. Because at that point, I was like, okay, I'm out of high school now, and what am I gonna do with my life, right? I ended up doing construction for about a year with one of my other friends' dads, not the same one that I was living with. And he had some connections in real estate, and he was telling me about all these agents that he worked with. That's how he got his jobs. And this was about 2021 at this time. And I started seeing some things on TikTok about wholesaling and what it was, but I never truly understood it. I just saw people talking about it. So I looked into it, and I tried like the 7-day free trial on Podio, and like tried to pull some list and didn't really understand what I was doing and
Well,
just
prop
gave up
stream,
entirely.
that
Yeah,
prop.
yeah,
Yeah,
prop
yeah,
stream. Sorry, I
yeah.
don't know why I said Podio.
Oh yeah, no, that's a classic, bro. I know a lot of people that started off with a 7-day trial on Prowl Street. That's dope.
Yeah, yeah.
So
So
you
I
were
did
pulling some
that.
lists, cold calling, or what? How were you reaching out?
Yeah, so I found some leads on for sale by owner on Zillow, and I tried contacting some agents on Zillow too. I was like, "Hey, I'm an investor," and had no idea what to say, had no script, had no nothing. I was just freestyling everything, and got rejected pretty big. So that's when I went to PropStream and started pulling list and skip tracing like one by one, and I would call them, and I would get told to screw off, like I'm not selling my house. So I was like, dude, how do people do this? How are people making 10, $20,000 doing this? Makes no sense. But so I gave up entirely on cold calling or dialing these lists that I found on PropStream. And I was still doing construction at the time. And then I saw on Instagram because one of the people that I followed on TikTok was actually in Georgia who was wholesaling, and I gave him a follow on Instagram as well. And then this was around September of 2021. I had saw that he posted on his Instagram story that he was hiring for a lead manager, and I was like, "What the heck is a lead manager?" I thought it was like some management position. I've never had a management position, so I was like, "Oh, dude, I've never done this, but let me try it." So I DM'd him. He shot me all the information. I had to send over some videos and things like that, and I ended up working for him. I got the job, and I still thought it was some sort of management position, and I was like, "What is happening right now?" And then I quickly realized that I was just well, not cold calling, but I was dialing all throughout the day, right?
It was entry level.
So
You
my Yeah, exactly.
That's
I thought that
awesome,
I was
dude.
big dog already, but unfortunately it wasn't.
So you got to the new job, to your new management position, and it ended up being a entry level position, but still much better than calling leads one by one and getting cussed out.
Right,
Right.
right,
Okay.
right. So yeah, my job was to qualify the leads that came in either through SMS, cold calling, or a website form. And I quickly realized that, this wasn't the management position that I was hoping for, but it was still, getting my foot into the door of it. So I was like, dude, this is a big wholesaling company. I'm just excited to learn, and I was getting paid to do it as well. 4 months in, the goal was to get a contract in your first 30 days. That's how they evaluate you and like see if they're going to keep you. And 4 months in, I haven't got a single contract. And this was December, and they were like, "Hey, look, man, we're coming up on this time. You haven't gotten anything yet." And I was still getting used to learning the script and learning how to talk to these people because I had never done this before. I had no idea how to do it. New Year's Eve, I got my first contract, and by January, that's when they were gonna like eventually let me go. But New Year's Eve came, got my first deal. So I set that up with the acquisitions team. They got it under contract. I was ecstatic, dude. I was like, holy crap, man, this is insane. I finally got one, right?
You had the buzzer beater
Um,
right when the ball dropped, huh?
yeah,
That's
exactly,
crazy.
exactly. So going into 2022, I basically just became like obsessed with what I was doing and tried to learn everything. I started watching podcasts on it, started watching live calls on YouTube with like Max Maxwell and all them people.
Nice. Yeah, that's a
And
good one.
yeah, dude. So I was just trying everything I could to just learn everything I could. And by the end, or I would say mid 2022, I was on a hot streak. I had like 30 contracts with the team already. I was like pretty much top sales in the company. I was like, dude, if I can do this for this company, I can do this by myself too. So I ended up doing 2 deals on my own while I was still with the company. And by the end of 2022, we had a big meeting with me and the owners of the company, and we decided to part ways. Like, I can do this on my own. They appreciate everything I've done. So we parted ways December 28th of 2022, and I was terrified, dude. I had no idea. I had like 10 grand in my bank. I was like, how am I going to start a business with 10 grand? Which doesn't sound like, I mean, it's a lot of money, but at the time, like thinking of running a business with 10 grand with no money coming in, because now I don't have income coming in. So now I'm like, what do I do?
Oh yeah, in a wholesale business,
Um,
right? When you're
and
eating ramen noodles, 10 grand's a lot of money. But when you're trying to run a wholesale business, 10 grand, it's kind of scary.
yeah,
You go like in a month or maybe two if you stretch it out. So I feel
exactly. So it runs short, so I was really nervous, but me and my girlfriend, we were leaving for New York the next day. So I was like, I'm not going to worry about it. Whatever happens in 2023, it happens, right? So we went to New York for New Year's. It was super fun time, but
so wait, let me get this straight. So you were low on money, about to start your business, tripping out.
yep.
You're like, let's just head to New York for New Year's just to kick things off.
We already had the trip planned. So the trip was
Nice.
planned like back in October, and I had no idea I was leaving the company that December. So,
Nice.
I mean, everything leading up to it, we already had the place booked and all that stuff.
That's
But
dope. So it was already paid for and it was a
yeah,
good, yeah, yeah,
exactly.
yeah, got you.
Yeah, everything was paid for at that point. But still, I was like going to New York with 10 grand. I mean, it sounds like a lot, but at the same time, it's like it's not that much.
For sure.
So we enjoyed New Year's Eve, New Year's, and all that. Came back, I think, around the second, and that's when it really hit me. I was like, dude, it's all me now. I'm not getting another 9 to 5. Like, I learned everything. I became top sales at that company. I can do this for myself. If I stay disciplined and I like lock in, then I can do this on my own. So, but that's when it hit me. I was like, "Ooh, how do I do this?" So, I started. The first thing I did was there was a website called iSpeed to Lead, and basically
Yep.
they just like sell motivated seller leads on the marketplace. So, with 10 grand in my account, I was like, I'm gonna devote 3 grand into just buying leads. Like these are the hottest leads. Instead of reaching out to homeowners, I'm gonna have, people who already raised their hand and said, "Hey, I want to sell." Um, so I can't remember how many I bought, but I bought a couple right at the beginning, and I ended up getting 4 deals under contract myself, just a one-man show in January. I ended up closing two of them in February. So at this point, I had, roughly 15, 20 grand coming in, on top of the money that I already had in my account. So I was like, okay, things are starting to look good. And with that 15, 20 grand, I invested into Facebook ads with Courtney Scott because me and him had been in contact. And I was like, look, man, once I get some money coming in, I'm going to invest with you. One of the best decisions I ever made. So invested with him, and he set up my whole CRM. We had Facebook ads coming in. I think I was running like $1,500 a month in ad spend. And I think like the 10th lead that came in was a banger, dude. It was a 30 grand deal.
Nice.
And that one ended up closing. It was supposed to close in March, but it ended up getting pushed out for title reasons, and it closed April 4th. So at this point, I'd already made, like 50, 60 grand in the first 4 months of wholesaling by myself. And I was ecstatic, dude. I was like, dude, this is like awesome. Like the
You were
whole
pulling it
whole
off,
different world.
man.
Yeah, man. So I was like, this is a whole different world, man. So if I just stayed dedicated and stayed doing what I was doing with the other company, then the sky's the limit, right? And I quickly realized that the market hit a big shift, and a lot of these sellers aren't taking, 50 cents on the dollar for their home. So I ended up, they were, um, in the middle of me working with that company, they had started doing novations in a different way. So they weren't doing like traditional novations. It was more so they would get the property under contract with an attorney, in fact, and then list it on the MLS to market it. And then they would double close on it and basically take the funds that way. And whatever the spread was, that's how they made their money.
They were
So
doing
it wasn't a traditional,
like a flat fee listing, and it was
exactly.
in the contract, but they weren't necessarily letting the seller know, and the seller wasn't
Yeah,
necessarily picking up on it. If it came up like, hey, why is it on the MLS? Then it was like, oh well, it's in the contract right here, da da da, pre-marketing, that whole play, right?
yeah, pretty much, pretty much. It was going good for him though. We were making pretty good spreads on it, and things were going good. So while I was working with them, I thought, this is like the coolest way of wholesaling because instead of finding a cash buyer, your buyer's list is unlimited by putting it on the MLS.
For sure. And the
So
market was
so I
raging right then, right? Like
yeah,
you couldn't
big
sell them
time.
fast enough. Like you threw it up on there, boom, 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 boom. Everything was, and it was good, right? No one was getting mad. It
Right.
was getting paid. It was like, hey, what's the problem? I feel you. Okay.
Exactly. Exactly. So one of the deals that I ended up getting under contract in January, um, she I had it under contract. I was still in touch with her and everything all the way leading up to April. And she had problems with her tenants and she just had to get them out of there before she could sell. But I knew at the price point it wouldn't really make sense for a cash buyer. So I reached out to them, and they were cool to JV with me. They threw it on the MLS. We had a buyer come in at 140. I was under contract with the seller at 100. After everything, we split down the middle. We made like 12, 15 grand each. And I was like, dude, this is like awesome. It works every time, right? So come June, I ended up getting a deal under contract that I knew it wouldn't work for a cash buyer, but I was like, instead of reaching out to them, gonna try it myself. And it was a
Hey, what do I
pain,
need
but
them for, right?
yeah, exactly. So it was a pain, but this one was in North Carolina, got under contract for 200, threw it up with a flat fee at 250, and my phone was off the hook, dude. I had like so many people calling me, and all these agents were like, "We want to come see it. We want to come see it." So I got under contract with an agent at 255, sold it, ended up making 30 grand on it. So I was like, dude, this flat fee is it, man. It's awesome. I love it. So then I got the next month came, I got two more deals under contract.
Oh, 1 second. It's freezing up here. Give me 1 sec.
And that's when I, yeah,
You're I don't know if you can hear me. Run it back real quick.
Mhm.
It froze up here. Let me just make sure there's no new internet connection.
Yeah, no, you're good.
Please no. Sorry, sorry. I know this is a climactic moment. Give me 1 sec. Hey guys,
All good, all good.
no, on the Wi-Fi for right now. That's not my. Thank you. I'll be done in like 15 minutes. Yeah, we got like 3 iPads going, and I think they got the connection here. Okay. So let's rewind just a second and just to reset it up because part of that was cutting out too. So we're in
Okay.
June now, right? And you
You want
had
me to go ahead and talk about the deal that I got listed it and all
no,
that?
no. I mean, you can
Okay.
put up because I know we're getting close to it anyways. Like you said, you did the one in North Carolina. That
Yeah,
one
yeah, yeah.
ended up pulling off, or you were getting a bunch of calls and everything, and I think that's where we left
Okay.
before it started cutting out.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. So I was getting a ton of calls on the North Carolina deal that I listed on the MLS and still had no idea what I was doing because I vaguely saw how they did it. So luckily I had a connection with a lender. She double closed on it for me and total profit on that one was like 30 grand, but it took 2 months to pull off.
Mm.
I went under contract with one agent, they ended up backing out, and then I went under contract with another one. So that's why it took so long.
A quick question. So when you were getting these deals under contract, how much of your time was then going to, when you're using the flat fee, was then going to taking calls? Like, were you still able to nail deals as all this was going on? Or did you kind of have to put a halt on it where it's like, okay, got this one under contract. Now it's time to take off my acquisitions hat and put on my
Yeah.
realtor hat real quick and make sure we get paid on
Mhm.
this, right?
Yeah, so that's exactly how it was. So I got that deal under contract in June, and that was the only deal I had up until August. So the whole time I was strictly focused on getting that deal closed, answering calls from realtors, figuring out when we can do inspections, trying to get people, the HVAC people to come out there, fix everything. Ended up calling one of my friends that lives up in North Carolina, luckily, and because they wanted, I think, like 10 grand in repairs before closing, and I didn't have 10 grand in my account at that point, and I was like, oh, what do I do? So luckily, he had contractors and he paid for everything up front, so I ended up paying him out at the closing. But if
Dang.
I didn't have him, I don't know what would have happened.
Now, if you don't mind me asking, right? I'm not trying to get like crazy personal, but I know you had deals coming in. Were you
Mhm.
just balling out and like getting used to spending money and stuff, or was it like the wholesale business was draining you? Because I've
Yeah,
done both, you know what I mean? So no judgment.
yeah. No, it was a mixture of both. That was the first time I've had like, 30, 40 grand in my account. So I was spending a little bit here, but then I was also spending money in ads. I spent money trying to get, a whole new CRM built up, and I had a partner at the time too. So I was splitting money with him and things like that. So um yeah, and talking about this North Carolina deal, after we got it closed, me and my partner eventually parted ways and, it didn't end up working out. So yeah, and then come August, after that North Carolina deal closed, um, I was still running ads the whole time. So I was trying to get deals under contract, trying to focus on the one in North Carolina. Wasn't working out, but after that one got sold, I could finally, put the acquisitions hat back on, go into making dials and getting deals under contract. So I did that, and I ended up getting one in Texas, Atlanta, Texas. Never heard of it before. But I was like, oh, this is going to be as easy as the last one. Just throw it up on the MLS, with a flat fee and get this thing sold in the next 2 months. That was the goal. So, got it under contract and threw it up with a flat fee. And unfortunately, they listed it in Atlanta, Georgia the first time. And I was like, no, dude, this is Atlanta, Texas, not Atlanta, Georgia. So me personally, I think that screwed everything up. So once I told them, I was like, hey, this is in Atlanta, Texas. They switched everything over, put it in Atlanta, Texas, and now it's active. So it's been active at this point, like 14 days on the market. No calls from an agent, no emails, no offers, no nothing. And I was like, man, is this thing priced too high? Like, I don't know what's going on. Because like the North Carolina one I did on my own, I was getting calls the first day. So I was like, it obviously has to be the price. So I listed it at 250, I think. I was like, let's drop it to 245. 2 days go by, no offers. And I'm like, man, what is happening? No calls either. So drop it 5 grand again. Now it's listed at 240. Still, same thing. No offers, no nothing. Like, man, I'm getting worried at this point because these sellers are like, they're calling me like, hey, what's the process? What's going on? And I'm like, let me get back to you on that. I don't really know myself. Right. So then the next week I drop it to 235. And I was like, at this point, if I get an offer at 235, I'm maybe making 10 grand. So and that's if, absolutely nothing comes up. I don't have to fix anything like that. So I drop it to 235, nothing happens still, and I'm like, man, I don't know what to do. I don't want to cancel with these sellers because I know how bad they have to move, and they have a lot going on. And I think you had just posted an Instagram story where it was like, send me your deals if you want to, do a novation. And I was like, man, this is a good idea. Why don't I just try it? So again, another Instagram story where I was like, man, let's try it. Let's try it. And then I looked at your page. I think you had like 25,000 followers, and I was like, let's see if he even responds. Like, hopefully he responds, right? So I sent it to you. You hit me back immediately, and you were like, dude, let's get this thing rolling. So you told me a whole new world of listing it on the MLS. You were like, no, screw flat fees. We don't like that. Let's list this thing with an agent, how you're supposed to do it. So that's where the story starts. It you hit me up. I mean, I hit you up, and we got this thing rolling. And we got a price drop with the seller. I think like 25 grand, which is awesome. And then we threw it up on the MLS with an agent. We found our lucky agent Gina to throw it up on the market with, and we listed it at what we listed at 245,
I think we went
247.
to 245. And just to preface too, the reason we had to get a price drop, right, was the sellers needed money to move and they were tripping
Mhm.
out. They were in a pinch, right? And when we got the realtor in, there was some minor issues too. You know what I mean? Like the house was livable and everything. And I think they just bought it like 2 years before that, right? And it was in
Yeah.
Atlanta, Texas. I want to say there's like 5,000 people that live in Atlanta, Texas. So yeah, it is
Yeah,
it's
middle
a
of nowhere.
town. And then I remember too when you first sent me the deal, and I went and called the flat fee broker just to see like what was up, to see like, okay, if anyone is interested in this property in
Mhm.
Atlanta, Texas, what experience are they getting when they try to reach out? And I called the flat fee broker. It was like I remember telling you it was like some like weird like message on there that it was like
Yeah.
like an automated voice is like, we're not available, but it sounded really strange and like in a small town, they're probably thinking it's like, a scam or something like that, especially
Yeah.
Gina, our realtor, she like I want to say she'd been living in that town her whole life, or if not, like a
Mhm.
really long time. The sweetest lady in the world, but she was also like a bulldog. Like she was about that. Like she wasn't afraid
Yeah.
like grab a switch off the tree and whoop tail if she had to. But yeah, man, and then we ended up putting the price back up, and we put it on with Gina, and um, I'm trying to remember the order of it, but I know we ended up having to help the sellers move, and I
Yeah.
want to say it was like we gave them money like two or three different times, and I think
Yeah.
altogether it was around maybe 6 grand or something, if I remember right.
Mhm. Well, the
Um,
first time we both sent the money, and that part was 6 grand. I think altogether it was like 8 or 10 grand
oh,
in the
that's
end.
right.
Yeah, that was something. So but yeah, we got it listed with Gina at 240. I think it was 247. I think we listed at 247. And we had an offer like the first, if not the first week, the first couple of days. And from there, I mean, we did everything we had to do, went through inspections. Gina handled absolutely everything. And I was like, man, this is crazy. I can still call people, lock up deals. Like I don't have to put the realtor cap on. I can just continue doing what I'm doing, and Gina is taking care of everything, right? So at that point, I was mainly focused on acquisition still. I was focused on getting deals under contract, going out to properties, taking pictures of it, like doing what I do. And I ended up closing like 2 deals while this one was going on. And I was like, man, this is sick, you know? So yeah, so while Gina has that listed, I think that went active. Did that go active mid-November? I think it went active mid-November. And no. Beginning of November. We closed it beginning of December. And that was probably one of the smoothest deals I've ever done. We got it listed with Gina, went through everything. Gina handled everything. And then I got a text from you and from Gina in our little group chat. And it was like, all right, we're closing next week. And it's like, man, that's so smooth, right? Didn't
Oh,
really have to do
bro.
much.
And behind the scenes too, like during inspections, Gina was back and forth with the other realtor. I think she even knew the
Hmm.
other realtor, and the realtor was a newer agent. So she was leveraging her expertise and experience.
Yeah.
I remember too, we were like asking her, like they originally had like a bigger ask in the inspection. She's like, oh yeah, don't worry about that. Like they can try that. They're gonna ask, but that don't mean we have to give it to them. You know what I mean? And it's funny because right, if that was flat fee, and even if it was me and you like doing the flat fee, I'd be like, oh man, dude, this is like our only offer. Like, should we just give them
Yeah.
what they want? Like, I always have a hard time of knowing what it is. It's just because we have so little information. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah,
we ain't been
exactly.
to the house. We don't know how this other agent is, the buyer. And the last thing you want is to go under all that trouble and then have the deal fall apart. But that's the good thing
Exactly.
about having that local person there is they're your eyes and ears, and they can get, especially when you get really good. Like Gina was literally the best possible person we could have to
Yeah.
list a property in Atlanta, Texas. Now, in Atlanta, Georgia, I wouldn't call Gina, but in Atlanta, Texas, she was that one. You know what I mean? And
Yeah.
uh, oh yeah, when you talk about having less stress, like when I first learned Novations, same setup, bro. Like I was working for someone else. We were doing flat fee brokers. There's someone else that handled all the listings and everything. But
Mhm.
like I would trip out, like when I would see him on Instagram on the weekends, like chilling at the pool at a hotel. I'm like, damn, dude, I got like 4 deals that are signed right.
Yeah.
This guy's hanging out with some girls and drinking a beer. I know he ain't kicking my calls right now. But Gina even had what her husband even came and changed the locks for us. Like
Yeah.
Gina was a G. We love Gina. She
Yeah.
was amazing. And they do all that for 3%. And it's like, you know what I mean? And I get your mentality too, right? Because you're a young dude, you were working construction, probably making 10, 20 bucks an hour. And then you
Mhm.
found this way where, hey, you could make 30, 40 grand every couple months. Yeah, you were working your ass off, but you were doing that already. You know what I mean? When you're doing
Yeah.
construction. So it seemed like a good
Absolutely.
play. But then when you see like this other way where you like segment it out, that's dope. And you said so when our deal was going, rather than you putting on your button down shirt and your realtor outfit, you were still chilling, just nailing deals. Cause like right,
Yeah.
you were saying you're doing like ads. It's like when you're selling your properties, you don't just turn your ads off, right? Like money's still
Yeah.
going out, and then leads are just like falling by the wayside, I would imagine, right?
Exactly. Yeah, that was like one of my biggest things too when we had that deal going on in North Carolina that I had listed with a flat fee and doing it all on my own. Leads were still coming in, and me and my partner were having like a back and forth situation at that point. So I couldn't have him dial because he was like he didn't really want to be a part of the company anymore. And I was trying to focus on getting that sold while also focusing on other deals, but I couldn't because there was so much going on with this one. It was a big pain, and being a one-man show, technically a one-man show at that point, it's hard to manage everything. So, yeah, I didn't get any deals under contract until August at that point. So I had gotten one in June, and the one in June was the one that I listed with a flat fee, and that one didn't get sold till August 11th, I believe. So I had no money come in June. I had nothing come in July, and then finally in August I hit the 30 grand jackpot. So yeah, it was rough, man. But learning how you do everything versus what I was somewhat taught. I wasn't really taught that, but seeing how the other company did it and thinking I could mimic that without really knowing what I was doing was a big learning lesson. Um, but yeah, man. So since we closed that deal in December, I think we ended up splitting like what 12 grand. I think it was
Yeah,
close to
I
12
think we
grand.
got like 12 grand each, if I
Yeah.
remember. Yeah, that
But hey,
sounds.
we almost didn't make anything. I almost
Oh
didn't
yeah.
make anything on that one. So
So it was a 12 grand right on time, considering the situation
yeah.
and everything. We were all happy. Gina got paid. The other agent got paid. The family that bought the house, they were super happy. And of course, our sellers were incredibly
Oh
grateful.
yeah.
I know we were happy just to get the money back too that we put in, and then the 12 grand on top of it, so
Yeah,
yeah,
absolutely.
it was, because dude, those small towns, sometimes it's unpredictable, but like
Yeah,
only way to pull those off is to have a good realtor, because especially in the small towns,
absolutely.
like the local agents, like if you're not from there and stuff and you're trying to tell them I'm the attorney in fact, they're like, what in the scam is this? Like,
Yeah, yeah. No,
so
big time.
for
And
sure.
just thinking back, like, man, if I would have just canceled with those sellers, they would have had to go through another company, probably would have got through the same thing with them. And, it was just a big mix up. So seeing your Instagram story at the perfect time, man, I'm super glad we were able to get that deal done. No matter how big the spread was. I mean, the sellers, they got what they needed. And, you know, the
Yeah.
homeowners who bought the house, they have a brand new house that they love. So it was a huge learning experience. I loved it. It was awesome. And like I said, I was still able to get deals under contract while I had that one. So I wasn't, just solely focused on that. And throughout that, I made 12 grand with you. I had two other deals closed at the time. So I had, a larger sum of money going into 2024 than I did going into 2023. Um,
Nice. Nice.
So yeah, this year, I mean, I'm still focusing on wholesaling as my main business model. I'm trying to do traditional off-market wholesaling as much as I can, and then when the deals come in that don't make sense, still stick to the novation strategy that I learned from you, and now have access to the course because we did a deal together. So I'm actually learning how to do it instead of just winging it, right?
Yeah,
Um,
yeah, you got the full blueprint laid out. You don't have to try to
exactly.
decipher the Da Vinci Code and put the pieces together. That's killer, brother. And as you train, I'm sure you've got plans to grow a team and share the opportunity and fill some of those seats. You know what I mean? Having like a rock solid blueprint where you can be like, literally watch these videos and do exactly what it says. And then you're
Yep,
not sitting there, side by side trying to recreate the blueprint and taking away from you nailing deals. That's one thing I really like
exactly.
too about having like a video type training is you can kind of outsource that and see like, are they hungry? Right? Say, hey, look, watch this video and then we're going to chat about it tomorrow. And if you quiz them and they obviously didn't take it seriously or didn't study it, then that's a precursor where you can find out, hey, look, maybe the work ethic's not there, maybe the belief's not there, whatever the reason is. I
Yep.
would much rather find that out now than 3 months later after they burned through $5,000 or $10,000 worth of leads and missed out on
Yeah,
50 or $100,000 worth of profit. That had we had the right person in that seat, you know what I mean, they would have been able to capitalize on that opportunity. So
100%.
that's dope, brother.
100%.
So are you solo dolo right now and just grinding and just building up your reserves, or what's your company looking like now?
Yeah, so going into we're a month into 2024 now. It's already
Yep.
February. But first thing I did, I was like, all right, new year. I'm basically starting over from scratch, but I'm gonna hire out some seats. So where I was only running Facebook ads last year, I ended up clearing, I think, 170 my first year wholesaling, which is sick, man.
Good for you, brother, dude.
Appreciate
At
that, boss.
23 years old, man.
Yeah,
That's so sick, bro. Good for you,
it was
man. You
awesome,
deserve
man.
it, man.
Thank you. Thank you. So I was like, yeah, I'm not just gonna run Facebook ads. I'm still running the Facebook ads with Courtney. But I was like, let's put in some other marketing channels. Like we're having inbound, we had 170,000 with inbound. So I was like, we stay with inbound, up the ad spend a little bit, and then bring in outbound. So I hired a texter, and I hired a lead manager. So that part is outsourced right now. We have texting, and we have the lead management side, the side that I got introduced to working for that other company. Hired that out, and now I'm mainly focused on acquisitions and dispo and all of that stuff. But now I don't have to focus on, qualifying the leads and getting them under contract. I'm already set up with the highest quality leads, focusing on getting those locked up. And once they're locked up, now we can, try to sell them.
That's
So
good,
that's where
man.
we are right now in 2024. It's going pretty solid. We have 7 deals under contract in the first month. And
Hey,
yeah, man, I'm
yo,
excited. I'm excited where this year takes
off
me.
to a great start, man. And you hit so many good points, like right here in this tail end, where you're saying, hey, look, wholesale. I try to get as many wholesale deals as I can because I get it. Me too, bro. They're quick, they're easy, they're less moving parts, and you can wham bam in a couple weeks, get a big check. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But however, right, you are spending all this money on marketing, right? And it's like, hey, look, when the ones that come in that aren't a fit for that,
Mhm.
you're running the Novation play, but now you have it where you've automated, and this is another huge hack, right? It sounds like you're automating the most time consuming and least productive tasks. But
Yep.
it's important, right? But like lead manager, right? If you could spend 8 hours a day talking just to motivated sellers rather than 4 hours a day talking to motivated sellers and 4 hours lead managing, like you'll double your production for someone that you can pay
Exactly.
a fraction of what you're capable of earning in that same time. So I think that was really
Yep.
smart of you, right? And I think probably your next step is going to be, once you get so many leads that you're just spending all day on the phone talking to motivated sellers and there's still leads, now I think you're in a position where you can introduce the opportunity to someone that's hungry, good-hearted, and wants to learn, where you can now maybe bring them, start them as a lead manager and move them up through the acquisitions ranks, and eventually, repeat that process as you add to your team. And before
Yeah.
you know it, you know what I mean? You can be on the phones when you want to and not when you have to. And you're making money
Yeah.
whether you're on the phone or not. You know what I mean? And that's
Exactly.
what's sick at 23, dude. My life was a complete mess at 23, but it was all my fault. Like, bad things didn't happen to me. I just made bad choices. But I think that's so
Yeah.
cool, dude, that you know what I mean? You're stepping up. We've had a chance to work that deal together. And I'm a good judge of character. And you've always just seemed like a really just genuine dude. You just want to be successful. You want to do the right thing. You know what I mean? And I think
Yeah.
that's dope, bro.
Thank you, man. I appreciate that. And we're gonna do more deals together this year too, you know. I'm
Dude,
not I'm not opposed to, saying, "Oh, I can do it myself. I did it one time, I can do it myself." No, I'm down to still th throw deals your way and learn the process even deeper because I'm a hands-on learner. I like, doing deals with other people. I'm not, the greediest person ever. I'm fine with, giving up half the profit to learn how to do it even deeper than, just watching videos on how to do it. So yeah, we'll definitely do some more deals together this year.
Well, that's sick, bro. Until you have your army in place, if you get to a point where you got too many deals going just because you're too badass on the phone, if you need to throw a couple my way, I'll find us Arginas in any market
Let's do it.
and we'll run the play, bro.
Let's
Heck
do
yeah,
it, man.
man. Dude, so if anyone wants to get in touch with you, what's the best way for them to reach out? Is there anything that you're providing as like a service or anything? I know like you've been doing like your calls online, and that's
Mhm.
dope. Definitely a big fan of that. I think that'll help you also attract your tribe, you know what I mean, of people
Yeah.
that you be working with. But like how can they get a hold of you? And is there anything that you're pushing right now?
Yeah, so right now I'm just focused on making content of the calls that I have and things like that. So Instagram is one of the biggest ways you can get into easiest ways you can get in touch with me. I post on Instagram and TikTok as much as I can of the calls that I make and just normal content about wholesaling. So if you want to reach out, my Instagram is my first name and last name and two underscores, which is Gunnar Morgan underscore underscore. And spell it with an A, not an E. So Gunnar Morgan underscore
Yeah.
underscore. And yeah, TikTok is Gmorg with two G's. And yeah, I'm just posting content about wholesaling in general. So I'm not offering any services now, but in the future I can, foresee. But if you guys want to reach out or want a job or anything, I'm expanding the team. So reach out and let me know.
Dude, that's sick. Appreciate you, brother. I really appreciate you taking time to come on and share your story. I know people are going to be inspired by this. There's some 21-year-old young gunner sitting here working a construction job,
Yeah,
dreaming of doing what you can do. And I hope this help gives them the courage, you know what I mean, to take action,
absolutely.
fail forward. I mean, yeah, dude, you fell on your face a bunch of times, just like we all do, trying
Hmm.
to pull this off. You know what I mean? But
Exactly.
you didn't give up. You kept looking for ways to improve. You didn't let your ego get in the way of think, I just need to go harder on this same thing. You know what I mean? You
Right.
kept an open mind, which is, a trait I see in people in this business that succeed because it's a hard business to have an ego in just because you get punched in the face so much. So
Oh yeah.
you can't feel if you feel like you're indestructible, you got to be careful because you can find a
Yeah.
lane where you can't lose, but it's a moving target. You know what I mean? Like the hedge
Hmm.
funds were hitting when the market was great, the flat fee was hitting for a lot of people.
Yep.
And then now a lot, things keep changing. And a lot of people that thought that, they didn't have to listen to anybody or didn't, couldn't lose. You
Yeah.
find out it humbles you. You know what I mean? It's like,
Oh yeah.
being a surfer in the ocean. Like the ocean is undefeated, man. Like
Yep.
you gotta respect the market and respect the ocean, and that's how you keep from drowning. So salute to
Yeah,
you.
absolutely.
Anything you ever need, you can hit me anytime, man. And appreciate you, dog.
Absolutely. I appreciate you too, man.
Awesome, dude.